If a lifting device is being used, stand clear of the jaws when releasing them to avoid being trapped against the trench wall. The hoe operator should keep all slack out of the cable slings to prevent the device from rolling to the side when the jaws are released. The Eastern Irrigation District recommends that web slings should be used on 450 millimeter, 18-inch diameter pipe or smaller, and only if the trench is shallow enough to hand the pipe directly to the workers below. Chains should not be used to lift PVC pipe, as they could slide or damage the pipe. Small diameter pipe may be assembled with a bar, while larger pipe will require pressure from the hoe. A wooden block should be used between the pipe and the bucket to prevent damaging the pipe. Push only until the first assembly line on the spigot is lined up with the end of the bell. A worker must be positioned at the joint to signal the operator when the assembly is complete. Over-assembly could damage the bell of this or previously assembled joints. Previously installed pipe should be backfilled and compacted before attempting to install another length to prevent any pipe movement that could cause over-assembly and damage. Backfill material is placed under the haunches of the pipe and up past the spring line or center line of the pipe. Workers should be positioned in the previously backfilled area while the hoe is placing sand. The sand is then compacted alongside the pipe to provide the necessary support for the pipe walls. Do not over-compact, as this will force additional sand under the pipe and lift it above the desired grade. Take care not to contact the pipe with the compacting equipment, as this may damage the pipe. The workers must also take care not to step on the pipe, as it is extremely slippery. Additional backfill material is placed to provide at least 12 inches of cover over the pipe. This material is compacted using a ram axe to complete the initial backfill. Tracer wire is laid on top of the initial backfill, and then the final backfill material placed to completely fill the excavation. Place the length of pipe to be cut on rollers or level ground. Measure and mark a cutting line completely around the pipe. Small diameter pipe may be cut with a handsaw, larger pipe with a power saw or an abrasive disc. Do not use a carbide-tipped power saw blade, as the heat generated while cutting plastic may be enough to melt the solder used to fasten the tips to the blade. The cut end must be smoothed and beveled to approximately 15 degrees using a grinder or power planer. Compare the new bevel to a factory end to establish the correct angle. Measure and mark new assembly lines, again referring to a factory end for correct measurements. All fittings must be installed manually. Do not attempt to install fittings with the hoe. Lower fittings into the trench using a sling through or around the body of the fitting. Lubricate the pipe or fitting and move the fitting into position. Do not use excessive force on branches of tees to rotate the fitting. Wrap chains behind the bell of the previous pipe and install come-alongs. A flat-sided steel beam may be placed across the end of the fitting or pipe length and the chains attached. Apply force evenly on both sides of the pipe to prevent binding and pull the joint together to the first assembly line. The first joint of pipe installed into the fitting must be pulled in manually as well and backfilled before resuming normal assembly. This will prevent over-assembly of previous joints. A concrete thrust block must be poured at all fittings, which change the direction of the flow of water or reduce the size of pipe. These thrust blocks are sized and placed to resist the force of water and prevent the pipeline from being forced apart. More information and specifications for concrete thrust blocks are available from IPEX. The excavation is made following applicable sloping guidelines. The sides of the excavation should be sloped from the bottom of the excavation rather than leaving any straight-cut walls, as the workers will be required to crouch or kneel down to install fittings and bolts. Bedding material is placed and leveled at the correct elevation. The pipeline or branch line is raised to the correct elevation using 45-degree elbows if required, and a flanged fitting is installed. The riser is lowered into the excavation and bolted to the flange with a rubber gasket providing the seal. Proper bolt torque specifications for the size of the flange are available from IPEX. A corrosion protection anode is placed in the excavation and connected to the riser. The riser is checked for vertical using a hand level and adjusted if necessary. A concrete thrust block is poured behind the elbow of the riser, allowed to set, and the riser is backfilled. When correctly designed, installed, and operated, an irrigation pipeline can give many years of maintenance-free service. The safety of the workers and the public must always be a priority when designing and installing pipelines. When considering changes to materials, equipment, or procedures, this level of safety must not be compromised. If you can see a way of improving site safety or efficiency, let your supervisor know. Working together, we can demonstrate that safety in irrigation works.